Welcome everyone, Arthur Bablis here. Congratulations for getting to the Conscious Evolution Show, the podcast, part of the Evolve from the Inside Out community. And we're going to be coming to you here, we're going to be having discussions and conscious conversations. And our whole purpose is to get you thinking about your thinking, to ask you some questions so you can discover the decisions that you need to make in order for you to start moving your life forward. How do you bring in more joy, more love, more happiness, more success into your life? You see, leadership, success and happiness, it doesn't just happen, it's cause and effect. Being a world-class therapist, an extraordinary coach and heart-centered healer requires you to do the inner work, to continually grow and evolve. In this podcast, I'm going to share with you what I've learned on my journey in this wonderful field, blending modern science, traditional wisdoms and spiritual laws to help you to discover that essence inside of you and ask yourself the questions to help you to finally break through. Here's a question: who would you be, what would you do, and how would you feel if you already had blank? Think about that. This podcast is going to help you fill in the blanks. This is Arthur Bablis. Welcome everyone, Arthur Bablis. It's that time again. It's Monday, Conscious Conversations, Conscious Mastery Conversations with myself, my team, of course, and coming to you here Monday. Oh, look, we got someone really exciting today that we're going to have a chat with, someone that I know you're going to dearly love. I've known this woman for over a decade now with some of the work that we've done together, and I know she's got a huge fan base. So everyone's probably wanting to be listening today because this woman is the expert with our furry friends. So anyway, a bit of an intro before we get started. If you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from, which part of the world. We're streaming to all our platforms, obviously my personal page, my business page, LinkedIn, YouTube. We got a message here that we want to be able to share with people. We've been doing this now for 3 decades in this field of complementary medicine, personal growth, and human performance, as you guys know. And really over the last 18 months, 2 years, we've been coming to you and having conversations with colleagues in the field, friends in the field, my mentors in the field, people who have been on the journey themselves and have evolved their consciousness and able to support, give back with their own magic, with their own gifts. And we learn from each other's story. We learn from each other's journey that we've been on, and we've got so many people doing wonderful work who are sharing their craft with people. And today you're going to be I'm excited because today I'm going to introduce you to this lady. As I said, I've known her for over a decade now. She first came in because she wanted to do some energetic work, some kinesiology, so I'm sure she's going to talk about that. But she is a lover of animals, and one person that really holds animals close to her heart and believes that animals, as I do, really a reflection of our barometers of our health and our quality of life. And they reflect us, don't they? And so we're going to bring this a beautiful lady here. She's on her next stage of her journey too. She's just packing. She's going to Poland tonight. So she was getting onto the podcast today. So anyway, let's have me stop talking and bring on down the one and only Grazyna Witkowska. Come on down. More importantly, the rooster is in the house. I know you love your rooster. You had a rooster, which is really dear to you. Grazyna, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today and having this conversation. I don't know where the conversation is going to go. We're just going to talk about your story and some pets. So thank you for making time. You're muted. Just unmute yourself.
All right, start again. Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here. Lovely music, and especially the rooster crowing is very
I know that's very special for you. So now, look, I know, Grazyna, you're packing your house at the moment, so in the middle of boxes and everything else, and you're actually getting on a plane to go to Poland on the next stage of your journey, right? But
yes, correct. Well, not too many boxes, just the stuff that I'm going to take with me. And I've got like a cooling off period. In December, I'm sort of off till December, and then I'm going to decide whether it's going to be permanent or I'm going to come back. But I have a feeling that it might be permanent. I just need to keep a little safety.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. We'll ask you some questions on the next stage of the journey. But as I said, I know you've got a huge fan base. People love you for your energy, the way you just communicate, your sense of humor, your directness, and obviously your love of animals. We met over a decade ago when you were on your journey wanting to learn some energetic work, some kinesiology. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey. I'm sure there's so much you can share, but, with what you're doing now, where you're headed now, what you've been doing, what led you on this path? What were the moments in your life that, I need to move down a specific path? And then more specifically, the work with animals.
Right. Let me just say very quickly that I got introduced to kinesiology in the 90s. Now my age is showing, and I loved it. And I saw tremendous opportunities to do stuff that medicine cannot do and cannot detect, like, checking whether the mobile phones are actually affecting us negatively or not. And then, I was excited. I wanted to do that, but I was on a different path. And it took a while and a few other things that connected me to kinesiology that I decided I want to learn it and I want to work with animals. Now, to cut the long story short, I soon found out that working with animals also mostly requires working with their guardians, with their owners. So, in a way, my willingness to work with animals have pushed me into working with people and liking people more. So soon I found out that there is an intrinsic connection between humans and animals. And if you read people like Greg Braden, he talks about his mother discovering that the dog had a specific illness. I can't remember exactly what it was. And he suggested that she checks herself for the same problem. And lo and behold, indeed, she had that. So animals can reflect to us a lot of things. And I guess it's inevitable that we will influence each other if we live together. Even if you don't have an animal, you can probably relate to that with your partner or your, a housemate. We've got to adjust. And if one is annoyed, that annoyance rubs off on us. Because you started with the rooster, I have to say a little bit about my chickens. I love chickens, and I think that's right. The roosters are very underappreciated. They are fantastic. A good rooster can look after the girls very well, and the girls can feed because they need to feed to make eggs. And the rooster is watching from above for any predators, watching from around the place, so the hens can be safer and can do what they do best. So really, a lot of people will keep chickens, but they don't want roosters because they don't make eggs. But roosters are really, really, really important and wonderful. And men listening to this podcast, I'm sure you appreciate that.
Well, I think we do, and really, what you're saying there, Grazyna, is it's the yin and yang, the balance of the feminine, the masculine energy in an environment, in order for life to flourish, in order for an energy to continue to perpetuate. I think it's a wonderful metaphor for life. When you have that balance, when you have where people may be feeling secure and safe in an environment, they will then flourish and grow and create. So how do you create that? You need to balance within ourselves as human beings. We need to balance that masculine and feminine energy. We need to balance the rooster and the hen within us.
That's right.
Yeah, right. Sometimes it's too much of a hen. Sometimes it's too much of a rooster. How do we balance the two between us? Look, before we get into that, because I'm sure I'm going to ask anyone who's watching, wherever you're watching, if you've got any questions, please just put the chat. We're using a streaming service here, so we'll see your questions, and I can relay those questions back to Grazyna. And if you have a specific question about a specific animal, specific pet, and you want to be able to, pick or pluck, excuse the pun, Grazyna's experience, pluck her experience, now's the time, right? And if not, just put some questions here if you're watching this on the replay, and we'll follow them up. I know Grazyna, she'll tell us she's going to Poland later on, but she will connect with you when she gets there. The beautiful thing about technology, the internet, no matter where we are in the world's a small place. Tell us, did you have this love for animals at a very young age? How did you discover you had this connection with our furry friends, or not so furry friends?
I think I always loved animals, and a lot of children, majority of children, I would say, have a kind of immediate attraction and connection with animals. And animals often like children, but it also depends on our state. And again, going back to the chickens, I noticed if I was like in a rush and I went to where the chickens were, say that I wanted to close them off early, put them into their coop because I needed to go somewhere, they would scatter because I was scattered. So when I realized that, I would kind of take 2 steps back, take a deep breath, and try again. And keep grounded, keep calm, keep relaxed, and they would follow my direction to go to the coop. It was so good because after a while, I trained myself that when I was crossing the threshold, the little fence or the chicken behind which the chickens were, I would completely calm down. I would just relax. That had its bad sides because when I was so relaxed, everything else would disappear and I could spend 3 times as long doing what I went there to do than I would otherwise do. But it's still there. Whenever I go to where the chickens are, I just go shh, perfectly calm and focused, calm. So we influence each other, right?
Yeah,
And
you make a fantastic point there. I want to bring this up and let's have a chat about it because you said that when you went to the chickens because you wanted to go somewhere, you want to move them into the coop, you were scattered, they became scattered. So in a way, as we know, the animals sense our energy, they sense our frequency, they sense what's going on inside of us. So from a perspective of us as a human being, as we evolve and grow and we have stuff that happens in our life, we know that, as we know with the work that we do, the first stage of our transformation is awareness. So perhaps we can look at our animals to maybe give us an awareness of maybe what our blind spots are that we're not noticing. And so from that perspective, so hold on a second, what is it that my chickens are attempting to communicate with me, or my dog or my cat or whatever animal you have? Because, you know, it's interesting. I have these birds that fly in my house here at Cronulla Beach. Like I'm here at Cronulla. Most people know I'm across the road here. This is what I do. And I have birds that fly in and I feed them 2 lorikeets. And I know when I approach them, when I'm calm, they'll come and eat out of my hand. Other times I approach them, they won't come in the house. It's quite interesting. So I say to myself, what's going on for me if they're not coming into the house when other times they do? And so that's, for me, I use it as a gauge where I'm at. I think that would be a great thing for a lot of people to become aware of. And yet if you've got an animal, you've got the animal for a reason.
Excellent point. And because we're living in a kind of stressful times, the pandemic and all sorts of trouble that we are encountering now, we might stress out. And the life has become also more hectic. People have less time for each other. And if we have an animal, it's not only that they can let us know whether we are too spaced out, but also they can be very calming. I like to say, have you ever got a bad hug from a person? Because that they can be bad hugs and they can be really good, reassuring hugs. And dogs are the kind of, it's in their genetic makeup to love you no matter what.
Unconditionally, absolutely.
I think I am a cat fan because they make you work for it.
So cats make you work for it, as dogs are just unconditional in their
I know.
love.
That's why I think that's genetic genetically dictated, because you might be mean to a dog and he still wants to love you. I think that's a bit unfair. But let's take that as something that helps us to be better people as well. So the dog therapists now. So if you have a dog, you could use the hugging of the dog to dissipate the stress, and to also let your dog know that he or she can dissipate the stress too, that they are in the safe, loving environment, and etc. And the key there would be the attention, the quality of that hug. So when we do that and we are aware, that's slightly different thing than we just, like pet, I've got to run. And same with the walks. I mean, I had opportunity, I don't have a dog, but I had an opportunity to go for walks with friend's dog for a period of time when they were away. And to me, it was just the most uplifting thing, looking how the dog is happy in the park, how I'm happy looking at the leaves, at the, little droplets of dew on the leaves, on the sun, the sky. That was fantastic. I couldn't understand why people go for a walk with a dog and check their phone and send messages. But hey, I have done that too. Yeah. And sometimes we're in a hurry to send a message, so be it. But the more often we actually are together with this animal in this environment and appreciate what's going on, that brings a different feeling and that brings a different fulfillment. So that's, again, a bit of awareness.
Well, dogs, interesting, because as we said, they have an unconditional love for their owners or the people that spend time with them. For me, no matter what would happen to the dog always is patient and will sit and wait and still love you no matter what. I mean, those qualities, when we see so many people who are impatient today, who want things quickly today, they're not grateful for what they have right now and they just want more of something. Whereas I think a dog is just grateful to have that moment with you. And you're right, just teach us to be in the moment, and maybe we can reflect on that. I love what you said about the hugging, because that's obviously collapsing anchors, right? So if you can hug an animal which is in a specific frequency of unconditional love, how could that help you collapse what you're going through? And how many people say that when they hug their animals, they feel much better, right? But it has to work both ways too. What role are we going to play to be able to have them have better quality life on the planet as well?
I'd like to suggest a particular type of touch.
Okay.
It's called T-touch, because one thing, it can help the communication, relax both the human and animal. So it forms a bond. It's almost like hypnosis. It's not a hypnosis, but I'll just explain what it is, and then we can think of what it might do. So T-touch, Linda Tellington-Jones came up with that technique. Her background is Feldenkrais method, and she loved horses. So she worked with horses and she looked for ways to help them be emotionally and physically at their peak. So she invented that, and I was listening to the tape when she was explaining how it is done, the T-touch. There was still, the type of the small cassette tapes that I was playing in the car. And so I was listening for 45 minutes as I was driving from work, got home to a cat that I just adopted from a shelter. And the cat would jump on my lap for a while, stay there for about 30 seconds, and she was gone. So that day, I tried what I learned from the tape, and it was very, like the best I could on the cat. So I tried that, and the cat fell asleep on my lap. And then, of course, a few minutes later, she woke up, looked around like, what's wrong with that picture? She was gone. But that convinced me that there is something in that that's worth exploring. So then I done courses with Linda. to learn that more. I'll show you on my cheek because
This is T-touch, right?
T-touch, yes. You probably can find stuff on the internet. There used to be a lot about it, but now they became a bit more precious. You have to pay money to be part of the group that talks about that. So the idea is to move the skin, and the more looser the skin, the bigger the circle in a circle. So important is to close the circle. So the recommendation is to do a circle and a quarter, because after the T-touch was done on humans, they were able to check the brain waves of the human, and they found out that during the T-touch, they go into alpha brain frequency. And so it's relaxed. So it makes sense that animals can heal when they're in a relaxed state much better. And of course, the stress goes. So let me show you what is that.
Sure. Okay.
Imagine you put your finger at 6 o'clock. There is a clock around here. At 6 o'clock. And then you move, let's say, with the clock. But you can move in either direction. And when you're doing it on the animal, you check the reaction, what they prefer. If you're doing it on a person, you can ask what feels better. So like starting from 6 o'clock, moving as far as you can move the skin, but don't move your finger on the skin. You just move the skin. And so you start at 6 o'clock and you go around, and then you miss the 6 o'clock, go to 9. So that's a circle and a quarter, and you close the circle, because the circle has to be closed, and it can't be more than 2 circles in order for the alpha brain to come in. Otherwise, it doesn't have the same effect. So you can do that with one finger and move, and one finger and move, and one finger and move, and one finger and move. You can do it with 5 fingers. You can, if there is
so you can do it as many times, but you're going from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock once and then starting again. 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock once and starting
in
again.
a different spot. You just move and you do it in a different spot. You can do it on the head, and you can do it on the side.
Let me ask you, because I know you do your hypnosis too, and you've done hypnosis with animals. Could this work on humans? Like if we were doing this while they're, before we put them in trance state, this could actually help us go bypass the critical faculty from beta brain to alpha state. We've got some questions we're going to ask in a second, but that is awesome. I wasn't aware that I mean, we know how touch can help us relax, but that's a specific type of touch, right?
That's right.
Wow.
And if you go into this relaxed state, the communication can flow, and depends, it's like with a hug, you can express loving feelings, and you can express whatever the other person feels, just like you feel whether the hug is warm and friendly or just okay, hug, bye. Yes, absolutely. So, but let me just talk about hypnosis, because I remember when you were talking about hypnosis and you were talking about your children, how when they just falling asleep, you talk to them about the important things. And that's when I never thought, you could do hypnosis for animals. And I said, oh, that means you could do that to animals. And I think that's possible. And I think
So you would do that while you're doing the T-touch?
I could do it while I'm doing a T-touch, or when I'm, that's the easiest way. Or when I catch them falling asleep, I can do that too. But, I cannot sit next to the cat and talk to him. It's just too tempting to touch.
We got a question here, Grazyna. Do certain types of pets have different effects on our health and well-being? Is there any studies on specific pets, or is it an individual thing from person to person?
I am not aware of about specific studies.
From your experience?
For my experience, I would say it doesn't really matter what animal it is. It matters the relationship you have with them. So one can, chickens can be therapy animals. You cannot quite, do to the chicken what you can do to a dog. in fact, I used to advise people to give chickens space until my cousin told me that there was a chicken at our grandmother's place that would jump on her lap, and she had to pet the chicken. And when the chicken had enough of petting, she would jump off. So, hey, different individuals will react differently.
It reminds me, I was just, I think it was yesterday, the day before, I saw a reel from Sarah. Remember Sarah? Sarah Gilmore Main. Right, I'm mentioning her name. We might have to get her on this podcast very soon. So she's up in, the North Coast, up the Byron Bay area, and she's on on the land, and she's got chickens and roosters and animals. And she showed her a picture of her hugging her chickens, kissing them, right, with her daughters, then taking them for a walk. And as they're walking, on the paddock next to them, there was like a herd of cows. The cows started following them. And she's talking to the cows, just come along, and the cows just start, and she's talking about the sacred energy of a cow. And I just reminded me, I thought, man, I remember the days of Sarah and her animals and you and the animals in the room. It was just a wonderful experience. And a lot of people, I think we take it for granted, pets and our animals and the involvement in this 3D world. But they're, I actually wanted to ask you this, because we talk about in some of the training, I talk about how as an animal, a human being is one of the greatest adaptation machines, right? You put a human being in any environment, it's got the potential to become whatever it needs to be in the environment. Like when nature creates a species, it has two options: to pre-program the species, like most animals, or a human allow the environment to program them. So tell me more about that. Is that the case? Like, is a horse, of course? Right? When a horse is born, it knows how to run, knows how to jump, regardless of the environment. It can adapt the environment, but a horse is a horse. But a human being as an animal, we put it in any type of environment. It'll basically, based on the field of epigenetics, become that environment. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say two things about it. First of all, I would encourage everyone to respect what other animals come with. And another one is to remember that if we think of ourselves that we are very adaptable and very clever, that we can lead in a relationship. And of course, lead with respect and compassion. So if I want a relationship with a chicken, I won't go happy puppy that the chicken doesn't want to come up to me. I will notice, like you will notice with lorikeets, what attracts them to me, how they can get to know me, how I could do stuff with them that they enjoy, and then choose what I enjoy and they enjoy, and we can do it together. So, and that's very rewarding. I mean, any relationship is rewarding. And from relationships, we can, with animals, we can learn about relationships with people. I mean, I confess, I wasn't a fan of working with people. I prefer to work with animals, but working with animals, I have learned about people, and now I enjoy people, especially people who love animals.
I love what you're saying there, because I saw another, and I think most people know this quote, and it was a reel I saw the other day, and it was about butterflies. When you attempt to catch a butterfly, when you chase butterflies, they fly away. So how do you catch a butterfly? You got to create the garden to attract the butterfly, right? Because, and so you've got to become the person to attract the butterfly to come into your garden. And, so when you think of attracting a specific animal into your life, what type of person are you at that moment, and what role does that animal play? Because not only from a healing perspective, a therapy perspective, also a reflection perspective, an opportunity for us to have that awareness to say, hey, where am I? If is the animal picking up, as we said something before, something that I'm not? How can I learn? And so they come to us, even though we might say they're pre-programmed, they're highly evolved, because an animal just shrugs off the emotion, right? Whereas the human beings, we hold on to and cause illness. All right, an animal, fight or flight, it'll have an emotion and it'll just shrug it off and walk off again and back into unconditional love. But how is it that humans, we hold on to shit and all this type of stuff?
Sadly, I think we are stressing out our animals because we're not letting go. So if they let go and we don't, we are the bad influence on them. And that's really true because, you see, not so long ago, I had 2 dogs from the same family as patients, as clients. And they had, like, I did one after the other, sort of like a double session. And there were slightly different goals, what we wanted to achieve. But strangely enough, about 50% of techniques that came up that were needed were the same. And even a percentage, maybe a third of emotions that, you know, when you do kinesiology, the emotions come. I wasn't sure whether to use emotions when I'm working with animals because I still don't appreciate where this emotion is coming from. With humans, I can consciously work through that and let go, but with animals I cannot. But it's still interesting to me because, you know, for testing, double checking that the technique have completed successfully, plus it gives me a bit of a picture of what I'm dealing with. So later, for those who have done kinesiology, that's probably useful. Later on, I actually, if my energy towards the goal or attractive factor towards the goal are not in their high 80s or 90s, or 100 is good, or the stress is too high, like above 45 or 50, then I kind of do a bit of a relaxation session. So I do this and I walk them through how they can get to their goal, and I incorporate those emotions that we're letting go of. And believe me, because I've seen it, the energy goes up, the stress goes down.
It's a beautiful thing when you do this energetic work. I love hearing the words attractor factor and then the emotional stress release and the goal. I mean, they're simple tools, but, you know, and not only can we apply them in our life, but apply them with the animals. It reminds me of a story. I want to share the story, and you probably recall I've said it possibly in the training a long, long time ago. I had this girl who was doing some kinesiology training with us, and she wanted to bring her sister in to have an energetic clearing or a balance because she's having a baby and she was the first time pregnant, and they have a dog which lived inside the house, and they wanted to make sure that the dog was okay with the baby and blah, blah, blah. And so she came in to do some work on the dog. And as you know, with kinesiology, so we're muscle monitoring and testing, and we didn't get permission to work on the lady who was pregnant. The baby wasn't giving us permission, right? The baby wasn't giving us permission to use that lady as a surrogate for her dog, who was also in the room, right? And so we used the sister. The sister was the surrogate. And quite interesting story, because the reason why the baby wasn't giving us permission, what came up, the baby was feeling the resentment of the dog, right? So the unborn baby, because the dog was an in-house dog, and the couple was thinking, well, when we have our first baby, we might need to have our dog more outside than inside, you know, because we want the health of the baby. That's all their thinking process. And I wonder if the dog's okay with that. So the dog was picking up the change in environment, resenting that, right? And then we did some age regression on the dog. Was this the first time that this dog experienced resentment? And he was, no. And the first time was 4 years before that. And I said, what happened 4 years before that? And then the sister said, oh my God, that's when I moved into my sister's place with my dog. So the first time the dog that we were balancing felt resentment was the time when another dog came into the environment to take up the space, hadn't been cleared, and now picking up that same energy with another animal baby coming into the space. And it was just a wonderful clearing, and we did some wonderful work. And, you know, many months later, it's like I got a photo sent to me, the whole family, the dog, everyone doing fine, you know, like just clearing that energetic space. It's amazing when you witness this stuff. I agree, as you said, when you witness this stuff and what it does for people to be in harmony with their furry friends. And I mean, you were there in that room when when we gave my daughter her first pet, Stevie, a little dachshund. That was 4 years ago, right? And what's exciting now, Grazyna, is that I'll soon be moving from here to a bigger house, and all my kids are going to be back in living with me, and Stevie's going to be back in the house. So I'm looking forward to having Stevie back in the house, a little dachshund, and it'll be a good thing.
Yes, you watch how your relationship develops with the dachshund and do a program about that.
Well, I think that might be a good idea. So tell me, for people who've got pets out there, what are some, because obviously, as we're saying, there are barometers of our health and the quality of life. What are the things they need to be aware of? There was 3 tips for you to actually help people become aware of in terms of signs of a pet and how they can support the pet and how they can use it to improve their health and quality of life. What would they be? What could we leave people, listeners today with?
Well, when it comes to signs, every animal, every type of animal and every animal will have slightly different signs, behavior, the physiological things. You talk about it in NLP. We've got to become good at observing things.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make the garden blossom? You observe, you get to know how much water they need, how much sunshine they need. Do they need to be moved into a sheltered position? Same with any animal. I mean, there are obvious things. Cats might put their ears back when they're angry. Of course, they go, obvious sign. Also dogs, the ears, the vocalizations. There are some obvious and some not obvious. And they speak like, when they want to go, when your dog wants to go for a walk, when your dog wants to get food, or a cat, or when the chicken is happy, they've got redder faces. But then again, it depends on the season. If they're laying eggs, they have a redder face. If they having a break from laying eggs, they won't. So as we go, we observe. But my rooster knew before I knew that the hen was coming into season, because he started chasing them and wanted to jump them. And only like about a week later, I could see the signs, but that meant that I'm not seeing what he's able to see. So I need to sharpen my perception. So that's one thing. And I think that's really the most important thing.
So to observe signs that maybe can give you an indication of that something's happening. There's a change in the environment, change in their behavior, change in maybe how they're doing things. And so I suppose through trial and error, you just need to observe and record and work out what's happening.
And another thing that, maybe a little bit next step, if you're in tune with your animal, you can get into this, talk telepathically. Try it. You need to be relaxed. It could be very well started with a person doing a T-touch on an animal, or just sitting quietly. If it's a chicken, it may not like a T-touch physically. You can do a T-touch energetically, like imagine, you move your hand and it reaches the animal. You could do that too. But the thing is, if you're in a quiet space and you feel the loving between you and that animal, relax and ask a question and allow the stream of consciousness filter through. How many beats per second we get? That was a picture.
How much information are we getting? 11 million bits of information any one time.
Yes.
But we filter, delete, distort, and generalize a lot of it, don't we?
That's right. So
when it's starting to rain outside.
Not raining here. When you ask the question and you allow yourself to be, I call it stream of consciousness. Just check stuff, what's coming on. And then, by all means, verify whether it makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes it requires an experiment or something. May I just give a very interesting story here?
Sure. Well, let's finish off the story. We've been going 40. We can go on for another hour. We've already gone 45 minutes. You know that, right? So tell us your story. And then what I want you to be able to share with us is if people wanted to get hold of you, Grazyna, if they wanted to get more information, to connect with your best version of us as your business in your website and so forth, where would they find out and connect with you if they wanted to do some work with you?
Right. They can connect at www or something, best versions of us. So it's plural, best versions of us, because we all different humans and animals and blah, 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 the versions of us.com.
We'll put that, I'll get sure that Patricia puts that in all the social media. So www.bestversionsofus.com. If you want more information on what Grazyna does or connect with her, maybe reach out and maybe do some work online by distance or face-to-face. If you're watching in Poland, she's going to be in Poland very soon. So to connect. So to finish up, let's hear the story. What's the story you want to share, Grazyna?
Well, right. And I give you another, you can reach from Best Versions of Us there, but then another one is www.uncommonfriends.net. That's where you can learn about the chickens, the book. There are excerpts from the book you can.
Okay, so we've got bestversionsofus.com, and they've been put online now, and www.uncommonfriends.net. Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Grazyna. So tell them, I want to hear the story.
Okay, the cat climbed on the roof. There was a sort of like a plastic roof at the back of the house. And then there was a flat thing, and then there was a little hill going out of the house. So there was a different distance between in different places from the roof. So the cat is there. She's been there before. She climbed up and jumped down without a problem. But this time she's meowing. So I'm thinking, oh, my poor distressed cat, I need to rescue her. So I go to one side and say, come on, jump, I catch you. Then I go to the lowest part. I can reach to the top of the roof, and I say, come, I catch you. No, she's not coming. So I go get a chair, put the chair, climb on the chair. So, I mean, I am like that, the roof is like here, and I can easily reach her. But as I'm climbing on the chair, I see that sense of approval in her face that I'm doing the right thing. And then I reach to grab her, and she goes like, ooh, what are you doing? Like, so I let go because I can see, through a visual thing that she doesn't want that. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So I pick up the chair and I carry it to the place where I picked it from. And then a thought crosses my mind. She wanted me to join her on the roof. And I thought, okay, is it true? Is it false? I cannot necessarily prove to anyone, but given her reactions, that explanation would fit. Another time there was an eagle going, and I had a sense that the eagle would attack the cat who was walking behind me, like maybe a few meters behind me. So I ran back to the cat, and the eagle went away. And I picked up the cat. I felt the cat trembling. But then later on, I'm thinking, no, I didn't get a message that from the cat the eagle might attack her. I imagined that. But then I thought, why would the cat be trembling? So watching those little things that can fill in the picture is, I guess, the first step towards feeling confident that whatever we discern from our stream of consciousness would be the message that we need to get, be it from an animal, be it from a person, be it, I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, indigenous people on many continents have claimed to be able to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, look, we talk about having sacred contracts with individual souls on this planet for our experience. It's the same with animals. We've got a sacred contract for an animal to be in our life for that learning. And obviously in different indigenous cultures, different ways of life, they look at animals differently, revere them in a different way, and think that they're people coming back in a different form. So the animals play a huge part in terms of humans surviving on this planet. Think about it. What would we be, human beings? Would we be able to survive without any other animal on the planet? That's quite interesting, because we all form part of this ecosystem in order for us to actually evolve and continue to grow. Grazyna, I want to say thank you so much for being on here today. We've gone 45, 50 minutes.
Okay, just one thing. Could we survive without animals? I just wanted to say, I mean, flippant me, that maybe we could, but would it be worth surviving?
Ah, love it. Love it. Would it be worth surviving? Love it. Thank you so much. People are saying it's great to be here. Thank you so much. I'll reach out to you. Grazyna, enjoy the rest of your packing. I know you're going to be going to the airport in about 4 hours because you've got a flight tonight to Poland. It was great connecting with you and just having a chat. Just interesting. Look, we haven't spoken for a while, and we just reconnected probably 2 or 3 weeks back, and we had some wonderful conversations. We're able to think about things that they have done in the past, and yeah, it's great to know that along your journey, you've connected with people. You've done a lot of wonderful work with a lot of people, a lot of animals and everything else. And, I wish you all the best of luck on your next venture in Poland. And we'll catch you on the flip side. So we're going to say you stay on here. We'll say goodbye to everyone in social media land. We'll stop the streaming. We'll be back again in a fortnight with our next series of conversational conscious conversations. We've got so many things going on, in terms of masterclass and everything else. So conscious conversations. Grazyna, again, thank you so much. Love the purple and pink that you're wearing. Goodbye, everyone. We'll talk to you, everyone, very